Horror is a huge business, and fanatics of both blood and gore films and games are requesting increasingly more terror. As disturbing content reaches greater crowds and becomes more mainstream, companies keep on testing crowds with new, significantly more upsetting content. In all actuality, upsetting and alarming are two totally different things. Numerous people prefer games that are alarming because of the adrenaline surge they give. Upsetting, on the other hand, purposely attempts to shock and disrupt its crowd. Today, we're investigating a portion of those games that push the players straight up to the precipice, call attention into the great beyond, and give that last little drive to the brink. In all honesty, death is a major piece of most games. It tends to be utilized as a story gadget, or as a result of neglecting to accomplish something appropriately. Without death, most games would be quite boring. That being said, a few games exceed all expectations with their portrayals of it. Beheadings, gutting and savage beatings are only a portion of the peculiar manners by which video game characters meet their nemesis. Be that as it may, these are the top 3 most disturbing video game deaths ever. Number 3. Originally released in 2005, Resident Evil 4 revolutionized the franchise, settling on the more action-arranged quest. A few choices like leaping out a window become accessible when the player stands directly close to a window. The story happens 6 years after the occasions of Resident Evil 2, with Leon Kennedy going from a newcomer of the Raccoon City Police Department to U.S. government specialist. He's entrusted to save the president's girl, Ashley Graham, who's been caught by a baffling faction in Europe. This game received extremely positive reception across the world. For many, it is considered to be the best horror game of all time. With that being said, this game was also highly controversial for how gruesome the deaths presented in it are. One in particular was censored in Japan, which is interesting, considering it is the home country of the company responsible for the creation of Resident Evil 4. This game traumatized thousands of young children playing the game, and censorship was deemed a necessary action by the Japanese government. Here is the video. Number 2. Little Nightmares is a puzzle platform horror adventure game developed by Tarsius Studios and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment in 2017. The plot follows the story of a 9-year-old girl called Six, who is faced off with the terrifying task of avoiding gigantic monsters, many of which are capable of killing her in a single blow. Needless to say, not every monster inside of this game is equal. Some are more horrifying than others. The twin chefs take the spot of being by far the scariest that this game has to offer. They are obese murderers that appear in the kitchen and have almost toddler-like proportions with fat legs and sausage-like arms with disgusting fingers, all of which are very calloused. They also have small but protruding ears and short, greasy brown hair. Both wear tall white chef's hats and white uniforms with aprons splattered with blood and filth, along with blue trousers and brown shoes. Their appearance is far from the worst issue, though. When one of the twins comes into contact with Six in the kitchen, she is immediately grabbed and murdered in many gruesome ways. The reason this game is number 2 in most disturbing deaths is because the death scenes are highly suggestive, meaning that there is no blood, and we are not shown how the protagonist suffers. It is left entirely to the imagination. All we know is that the protagonist is in the process of suffering excruciating death, even if we cannot see it, and we are able to put ourselves in Six's shoes. In my opinion, the worst death scene here is when she is placed in the oven, since it is by far the slowest death that she could possibly suffer. One can argue that being boiled alive in this game is worse, but in the oven, she dies in complete darkness and excruciating pain. When Six is boiled alive, at least she is not locked inside of a container, meaning Six is able to see the outside world before death. Number 1. Many games attempt to lay claim to the title of being the greatest video game of all time. Not many successfully receive the reception from the audience to sustain such title. Thankfully for The Last of Us, this is not the case, as it is widely considered to be the best of the best, at least when it comes to Sony's platform of PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5, since the game can be played in all of the aforementioned systems. The story is quite typical. The characters live in a zombie-infested world, and the protagonist is on a quest to produce a vaccine by helping a girl reach a group of scientists that live far away. Of course, this is not easy, since there are a myriad of obstacles that stand on their way, to be specific, clickers and human beings. Like all of the games on this list, there are dozens of deaths that the protagonist can experience, but only one tops the list, and that is when the bloater, which is a powerful zombie capable of shooting a poisonous gas, grabs Joel by the head, thereby introducing his fingers into the player's skull and mouth, only to absolutely demolish him into a cataclysmic pile of flesh. The deaths that I have included in this video may not be the most flamboyant that I could have found, but they certainly left their mark on me, as well as millions of other gamers. If you disagree with this top, please feel free to share what you think are the most horrifying deaths in gaming by commenting below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I upload horrifying content every week, so allow me to ruin your night. This has been Creeporium. Thank you and goodbye.